Last year, G2 versus BDS would have been a matchup you probably thought about skipping. After finishing 4-14 in spring and then 3-15 in summer, Team BDS found themselves repeatedly at the bottom of the standings. But that was last year. After their first ever 3-0 week, Team BDS is tied for second place with a spot in the best of 3 group stages basically locked, exceeding each and everyone's expectations. But today, they are facing the EU powerhouse and 9-time LEC champions G2 Esports for a spot at the very top of the standings. Team BDS in first place. Who would have believed that a few weeks ago? But can they actually beat G2? Let's run through this matchup in a little more depth, because it's a little closer than we would have expected, right, Gulborg?
Well, you had a slow walk over here, but I'm happy to start the conversation with you, and yeah,
gotta take my time.
And I'm thankful for it. We're finally here. G2, though, I think we've already talked quite a bit about it already with the fact that, oh yeah, they play through bot lane, super strong lane, we've all heard the deal. But we haven't really talked too much about how Caps and Yike can also be enablers of that. We've seen how the bot lane has enabled Yike, we've seen how that enabled the rest of the map, but we've also seen against Heretics how all of a sudden it was vice versa.
Yeah, because I think the real special thing about G2 is that pretty much anyone can carry. It's just about how they get to that point. The special thing about G2 is particularly through mid-jungle, they make a play to snowball somewhere on the map. We've seen that quite a lot through bot lane. Obviously, all of these clips are there. Last year, heck, we even saw Caps going towards top lane, and Broken Blade was their main carry of that year. But the fact that they can be so versatile about it, and they're so good at getting these ruthless snowballs off, is incredibly terrifying.
Yeah, and it all comes from the fact that they pretty much always have winning lanes. And when you have winning lanes, game just becomes so free to play. Win lane, win game. We've seen it so many times before.
Classic.
It is a classic. And it's also a classic from G2 now, because it just seems like they're unstoppable as soon as their lanes get enabled out on the rest of the map.
Yeah.
But what happens when the lanes don't get enabled? Well, we've already seen that actually one time from XK, who actually put up, I would say, the recipe of how to beat G2.
Yeah, it feels like a blueprint, because what SK did, particularly with Certus and Marcoon, is being able to pin back Caps, and that allows someone like Marcoon to go with impunity into the enemy jungle, and then go from the enemy jungle into lanes as well. We saw how much damage his Elise could do on the map with bot lane dives like this as well. It starts from a concerted effort between these two players in mid and jungle coming into their second year in the LEC, getting over that second album slump, definitely fighting against that, and finding a way to be leaders of this team.
Well, Alex, it sounds to me right now like we're saying that if you can pinpoint the lanes of G2, you can kind of beat them as well at the same time. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the BDS laners to achieve exactly this. But if there's one laner of BDS who's been doing exceptionally well so far, it's got to be Adam. It's his world right now. It's his meta. We've said it so many times, and he's been popping off absolutely with his champion pool and the statistics we've seen from him.
And we have to really put a pin on how much this player has evolved. These shouldn't be a surprise to you. These champions, we've seen them the entirety of his career. We saw them when he was in the LEC last. These stats, though, we would have seen them in the ERLs. We would have seen them before he made it to the LEC, but then actually he couldn't replicate them on that stage. That was the last time he was here.
Yeah.
Suddenly, he is actually being able to use these champions to great effect, and it's about the trust which his teammates put in him to carry on these champions. There is no Iron Team, there isn't Darius. Don't worry about the other ones, but it's the kind of the mentality of it, right? Where you're putting so much resources into a player like this, he needs to do something with them, and so far he has.
Incredible. But it's not just about the top lane, because, as you said, it is still a team game despite the Darius being up there as well. And to actually beat the laners, and if we have to take the recipe that we saw from SK as well, it came down to Marcoon as well in the Elise. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on Shio against Yike as well today. That's going to be a matchup you have to look out for due to the fact that both of them like to be a counter jungler. Both of them likes to be on the opposite side of the map. And for Shio specifically, he needs to find a way to disrupt the enemy laners of G2. But luckily for him, we've seen him in the enemy jungle in the early game so many times already.
No, and in a couple of these clips we'll see later, Shio's actually been doing a great job of doing this against his old LFL rival of 1-1-3, seeing this as first as Fnatic as well. Particularly for Shio, if he's going to get involved early, he knows how Yike plays. They are 9-8 all-time, just the one game in favor of Yike. This LFL rivalry coming up to even bigger stage of LEC. He's shown it how he can work it at that kind of level. Now, at the first chance of calling up in the LEC, he needs to replicate it, because as we said, if Yike gets online, there is endless opportunity across the map for G2 to find a player willing and able to carry.
And once again, it's about finding a leeway into just stopping them from playing normal League of Legends. If you can stop G2 from just playing lane by lane by lane and just let Yike do his stuff, well, all of a sudden, you finally got a way to beat G2 as well. So once again, lots of pressure over on the likes of Shio. You can look at the stats. Obviously, Yike still very much favored, but that's what happens when you have winning laners like G2. That's where a lot of the pressure comes from as well. So hopefully by now you realize that G2 is very much favored to come into this, but there is leeway for BDS to take this game against the likes of G2. But for now, it should be enough from Alex and I. And for the first time this year, we're going to send it over to Cadril and Medic with a special guest for Yankos and Picks and Bans.
Thank you very much, Gorbel. Great to have Yankos on the desk with us. Congratulations on your win. And
let's get a round of applause for Yankos.
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, he's going to be here for picks and bans in the first 10 minutes of the game. That was the first time I ever cast a game as well, the first 10 minutes. So are you going to come for my job in a couple of years?
I mean, maybe, right? I never came for a job in Excel, but I might come for a job in...
You came for his job as a streamer, now he can come for your job as a
Actually, that is true.
Just constant fighting non-stop, and now he's the one going
It's the true jungle battle.
It's the jungle ego, yeah. You always want to be better than the other jungler. Doesn't matter which jungler is it.
Yeah.
You just
no, I'm stuck in diamonds, so don't talk about jungle anymore.
Okay.
G2 doing their chance, getting all the players riled up for this game. And let's not forget, G2 right now is tied with BDS at 4-2. The winner of this will go up to 5 wins next to Vitality. And I never thought I would see a world where BDS is like fighting for first. What do you think is different about them this split, Yankos?
I mean, I feel like they really stepped up a lot, right? I feel like Shio, the jungler, is actually playing very well. I think Adam is quite enabled by their picks. I also had some pleasant surprises from him in Champions Queue. I think he has been performing very well. I think their bot lane is, also playing quite decently, and their mid lane stepped up a lot from last year. So a very pleasant surprise from BDS. I'm not sure if it's enough to beat G2, right? I had a very tough game against them last week.
Yeah, it was a rough one.
So I do think they are still the better team, hopefully, because we do play BDS on Monday. But yeah, I mean, they are looking much, much stronger.
Yeah, it's a world where BDS could end out our regular season in first place, which is truly surprising. But they have a bit of a task to get through. They play Vitality and G2 this week alongside... Oh, you guys! So maybe you guys could stop them.
I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
We are going 2-0 this week.
You're going 2-0 this week. So
yeah.
you pay BDS and...
Mad Lions.
Mad Lions. Okay, pushing for that 3-0. I like it.
I think it's already done. The thing is, we went 1-3, 2-1, 3-0.
Oh, I see. So as the weeks progress, you're just
I mean, we are getting better. I think it's a fact. So I'm not sure if it's enough to... I mean, okay, I think it should be enough to beat Mad Lions. And I don't want to get too cocky, but yeah, I do think it should be enough. Oh, draft is starting, guys.
Draft is starting. Yeah, Draven banned away from Hans already. I feel like Draven in Europe seems a bit strong. Jack Spectre was having a great game.
Yeah, he definitely had a very good game. Hansama had a very good game last week on it. So I'm not surprised that Draven is banned out from BDS side. Elise ban, something that Yike did. I don't think he played Elise just yet.
You say Yike? Yike?
How do I say his?
Yike.
Yike.
I like the way Janko said it, actually.
I mean, Yike is good as well.
Yike is
so
good.
Yike or Yike, whatever his pronunciation should be.
Yep.
I think he didn't really show Elise yet, but it's a power pick in Europe. I think we see it a lot in LCK as well. Very dominant early games. I think it's a good takeaway, honestly, from G2 early game.
From what I've seen from G2, it's like, if their early game goes good, they're one of the best teams in Europe at just snowballing the entire game. But if the early game goes even or bad, they look a little bit lost, or that looks like one of their weaknesses. Is that something you've noticed?
I mean, I would say that this is the storyline. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily true. I just feel like the games they lost, for example, against Vitality last week, they got completely outdrafted. And I think against SK Gaming, yes, indeed, they had a very bad early game. And, Mark Kuhn on Elise actually snowballed the game out of control. So I feel like even if the game is even and they have a draft that is winnable, I think they will look much, much better. But we will see.
So we'll have to see what you think about the draft when we get to the end of it, whether it's an even draft or not.
I mean, definitely looking already pretty good. Maokai, I think one of the power picks right now on this patch. Ike also, Yike also didn't play it just yet. I think it's the first time we see Maokai from him. I think he always played more of a fast-paced junglers that would invade enemy jungle as his bot lane had priority. Maybe this time trying something else. Getting on that power scaling pick.
Yeah, you're right. This is his first Maokai game of the split. First kind of tank game as well. I guess Maokai is more of like an AP champion. Did play the Udyr as well, but didn't find too much in that game. But Lucian Nami locked in. Team BDS, do you expect him to pick up a jungler on 3 here? I feel like jungle bot lane is just the 1-2-3 for most drafts.
I feel like you can, if you value, for example, Jax and 2 bans, or if you value a mid pick and 2 bans, I think it could happen. But yeah, honestly, it might just be a buy, for example, pickup, or a Sejuani pickup that can match the Maokai. It quite depends, what do they value, right? All the junglers are up besides Elise and Maokai being picked away, so I'm very curious. Right now we see, of course, Nautilus Lock, and Mickey is so good on Nautilus. I love to see it. I actually think that picking Nami Lucian is quite disrespectful against them at this point, because, he hooks in a lot, they dive bot lane a lot. The one thing to say is, though, that Maokai is not as good at diving early game as let's say, Belvet or Viego can be. So.
So we'll have to see what they do around it, especially also what AD carry they'll pick. You know, they haven't gone for AD carry yet. You think of things like Varus, Kalista, perhaps with
I think
Nautilus.
Varus, Kalista will probably get banned outright. They have to be. Against Hans Sama, I mean, you do ban Kalista at least. I think Varus could be the other one. There is a potential in Jhin maybe, but I feel like this champ is quite useless.
Agreed.
I think most people think that.
I think most Jhin just feels like it's
only
just...
like Carrier can make Jhin work at the moment. So Kalista banned already, as we say. Ryze was locked in for caps, and jungle on 3 for BDS with the Sejuani. There's the
Is this the BDS
Olaf
classic?
Darius?
It can be the Olaf Darius, I think. Then he has Garen left into Jax, I believe. Also, I do think Adam plays Jax himself, and Jax Sejuani is a very strong combo. That could be a potential pickup from Team BDS.
Yeah, definitely agree. So the Samira bans come out instead of the Varus. Maybe just thinking they're a bit afraid of that Samira
Darius
all-in
ban,
potential.
yeah.
Darius ban, yeah, we've seen in Champions Queue, we've seen lots of different champs come out of Adam, so I don't think he'll struggle, but you were talking about red side, but they've gone for the Jax anyway.
Definitely, yes.
Take that away. The Jace ban as well helps that a little bit. We'll see what Broken Blade opts into. Wunder, for example, likes to play things like Gragas into it just to nullify the lane.
Yes, definitely. I think Broken Blade could play Gragas. He could also play something like Cassante is still open. I feel like Broken Blade should be like one of the top lanes that should really be able to nullify Adam. I think he's, one of the best top laners in Europe right now. So if he can find something that he's comfortable with, and if he perhaps is as good as Evi on Cassante, but I don't think that's possible.
Nope.
I don't think you can be as good Cassante as Evi, Giga Shadow.
Gnar.
Interesting. That champion is very easy to dive if you are playing the Jax Sejuani side.
Okay, so if you were BDS here, you'd say, hang on a second, Gnar could be an early dive if Jax can stack a wave, level 3, level 4, just set up a quick dive.
Yes, but what is interesting here is that if they look in Xayah, I'm not sure if Team BDS can get dive on the bot side, right? Because normally, yeah, sure, you can dive Broken Blade, but what if Miki and Ike and Hans dive the bot side, right? Normally, you don't really want to trade that. You don't want to push the lead on the top laner when bot lane is falling behind. But I feel like with Xayah Naut, I don't think that's a strong lane. And even Dylan is laughing. I don't think they are like super happy with this draft.
Okay, so they're laughing through the pain of the draft, are they?
I mean, I don't think this draft is bad by any means.
Yeah.
You get Maokai, you get like insane Drake control. I think as long as you poke, you play around it, you should be strong. But picking Xayah Nautilus, I don't think that's a lane.
I agree. They're also a bit short-ranged as well. Ryze, Gnar, Maokai has to kind of commit if he wants to go in as well. So we'll see how they play around that range. But I think you're right in the sense that now, oftentimes, cross maps are just so important in League of Legends. You dive bot, they have to dive top, vice versa. But can they stack waves bot here, you think? Is it plausible for a dive?
I think it should be possible, just because Nautilus can hook in early and force those trades, and I feel like over time Lucianami will win, but early game can be interesting. What I really want to highlight here is that Xayah, her ult is so powerful against enemy team composition because enemy team composition wants to really dive in deep. They want to go hard. They have Sylas, they have Sejuani, they have Jax, they want to get in there and they want to get the job done. So I think picking Xayah is in fact quite safe as well.
Yeah, especially
helps you out later on in the game, right? In the laning phase, perhaps not as powerful as something like a Draven that was banned away, but when you get towards those team fights, the Feather Storm can help you out a ton. But I do want to come back to how we feel these drafts will play out against each other. We talked about top lane dives possible from BDS, bot lane play is what we've seen from G2, but how do we think in totality these drafts work against each other?
I mean, I think from my perspective, it would seem like Team BDS wants to focus their resources on the mid lane. They have Sylas, they have Sejuani, right?
Yep.
If somehow Sylas does kill the Ryze, I feel like Ryze will fall behind and he won't be as strong of a roaming champion. If not though, then I think Caps, very talented Ryze. I think he roams a lot when he plays the champion. He has a lot of lane priority, so Caps will most likely look to roam to silence and make these dives happen for G2 Esports.
Yeah, keep an eye on mid push because that's so important when it comes to these side lane dives. 3-man is one thing, but 4-man is another. But we're ready for game 3, G2 versus Team BDS.
Wait,
that
what
breakdown
now?
in the middle, we don't talk usually,
we
but I wanted to add it a little bit. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah. They can't hear us now.
They can. Let's get on to the Rift. Important to note, both these teams have locked themselves in the top 8 of the LEC. They'll be going through to the group stage. Seeding, though, still all important. Both of them can get into that top 1-2 seed, which means not only are you in the opposite group to the other person in first or second, but also you get to pick your opponent in that first round.
Yeah, can be very important. Seeding is everything. The higher placing, the better, basically, right? Yeah. Just gives you higher chances and more opportunities. So for this early game, talk to me, Jankos, about which direction you think both junglers will start levitating towards. No early invades, no kind of level 1 shenanigans. In terms of level 2, level 3, is it going to be any kind of gank setup, you think, from the Sejuani, or is it going to be 3 camps into level 3?
I mean, for me, what's interesting is that Yike opted into phase rush, not first strike, so that tells me he might go the tank build, Demonic Embrace into, I think, Rage and Virtue, is it? Caps, no cleanse, has Ghost, has phase rush, can avoid ganks, but if he gets locked down, he should get one shot. So I do think Sejuani may look for a level 3 mid gank after clearing Raptors, red buff, and cracks. At the same time, of course, ZK can go from the other side. Junglers are pretty much matching the clear. I honestly don't think this early game will be too explosive from both team compositions unless Maokai and Sejuani can really find something cheesy.
Yeah, Yike going towards the Crux now to make sure he has red buff for longer. Oftentimes what I've seen junglers do, especially on blue side, is those 3 bot camps and then walk into any bot side, try to contest the blue buff. If you have bot push, look for any kind of early advantages. Do you think it's worth, with a Nautilus lane, for Yike to stay bot side right now?
I mean, I think what I can't really see... Okay, so as you can see, there's 3 range minions on BDS side, so it seems like BDS is securing the push. They also warded. They are maybe slightly scared of Maokai cheese gank. I think it's not worth it. I also don't really think that Maokai level 3 wants to fight against Sejuani Sylas, right? I think it's a little bit dangerous. If they can find a one-shot Nami, sure, but I also think it's quite risky. So I can see Yike popping into the top side and, you know, securing the kind of full clear. As you can see, Caps pushing 2 waves, using his Trinket to ward, make sure Sejuani cannot cheese gank him. If you can see, if you can look at the timings, 2:30. If Sejuani were to gank mid, it will be like around 2:30, 2:40. So very good timing from Caps. Yike hovering in the mid lane, making sure Sejuani again can't gank. So very good early game, I think, so far from both teams, really. I mean, they are kind of shillings, but
He's going to dash into the bush here, trying to escape any vision.
I really like
15 seconds
but
on the
there's
queue.
no minion wave, so there's no reason for Caps to step up.
Surely not, right?
Surely not. I mean, Caps should smell something.
Yeah, the queue's up in 6 seconds there on the bottom left. You can see Shio's going to wait for
they
that.
will go for it.
Maybe a Q flash. Does phase rush save Caps here? Here he goes.
Okay, Caps running into top side phase. Oh, wow.
No, go, you got it, Jankos, I believe.
I mean, that's so well played already. Caps is out, right? He ran into the top side where he has vision.
Yep.
He made sure he runs into his jungler. Shio doesn't want to, you know, commit too deep because he doesn't really know where Maokai is exactly. He knows Maokai is at the top side. Maokai should be top side. So everything, I mean, Caps is safe, right? They also get so much information right now because they know Shio farmed only 3 camps. They know that he farmed only top side. And hook from Mickey! How does he hit every single hook?
It's just too damn good. Has someone looking for the root here. Crowny with an early
don't tell me, don't tell me it's another 2v2 kill.
uses the heal.
It is a 2v2 kill.
It's a 2v2. It is from Crowny. It's not going to be enough. Is it? Who's going to die? It's going to die. Mickey doesn't have any mana. What the fuck? It's a 2v2.
That's going to be the most hyped 2v2 I've ever seen in the LEC. 4 minutes in, BDS come out on top. 2 kills to the Lucian Nami.
And look at the player cams. Crowny and Labrov popping off. They're very happy with the 2v2 kill. Lucian getting 2 kills in the early game. He's going to scale into oblivion this game.
He is, and that wave looks like it's kind of slow pushing into BDS as well, so taking a base on such a good point. But you were completely right about the early jungle pathing. Yike did 3 camps, warded an entrance, went top side. Didn't actually get spotted by Shio, but Shio, there was information the entire game. So maybe G2 hooked in, thinking they know Sejuani's top. They can try to punish that, look for the kill. And it looked so good for G2.
Look at that hook, look at it. Look, loot from Hansama.
Do you give him the credit if he was rooted?
I mean, I don't really give him the credit. Also going in.
To Mickey?
I mean, I just think Mickey now tills is something that was always very respectable.
Yeah.
He likes to run it down a bit, right?
Oh, Hans
but yeah,
missing
if that QE hits, Crowny is dead.
Yeah, is that one of those things where you say Hans missed that, or Crowny preemptively went back in the bush to sidestep it?
Crowny played it well. Also, something to highlight is that Labrov waited with his heal until Ignite expired. So even if this QE hit from Hansama and the heal goes through, Hansama will still, or Crowny rather, will still die because of the Ignite. But I think BDS bot lane played very well.
Oh, BB.
He said Broken Blade would be able to shut down Adam in the top lane. Adam trying to get that wave in. Can't quite get it underneath.
He's gonna go again here.
This time Ike is here. Ike has flash. Will he commit? Yes, Labrov is dead. There's no counterplay. So many feathers.
So many feathers, and the wave coming in. That'll be really nice for G2's bot lane. But you talked about the mid push, Jankos. Nuke's just pushed in, moving towards bot side. Still has TP available in case he gets chunked out, but he's trying to threaten any kind of movement towards bot. That puts pressure on G2's bot lane.
Definitely, but that's also a huge mistake from Team BDS. When you have 2 people coming to your lane, all you have to do is just not run it down. Just don't run it down. Don't die right now.
Just tell my son to just go into
No, but you have to understand, Sejuani is in river, literally. Sylas is hovering. Sylas level 6. All they have to do is push this wave. Sure, they are pinging Tribush. They don't respect the lane gang, and Ike plays it perfectly, flashes in on the Nami, jukes the bubble. But I mean, what really disappoints me is, BDS needs a push out, but they do not respect it, they don't wait for the jungler. Ooh.
Don't wait for the jungler. That's one of the trigger points, isn't it? The pet peeves of junglers. When you say they
I
need
get
to
triggered
push
because
out,
I'm a yeah, well.
yeah, and then you go to help them push
Jungle
out, and
diff.
they've already inted it. Adam, a lot of trading here onto Broken Blade, who will get towards that Mega Gnar. Adam probably close to that level 6. Wants to look for the all-in, but the Mega Gnar evolve should help him. But yeah, Yike now back towards the top side. BDS going to get a dragon after pushing in those waves.
That should also trigger BB to know that Sejuani is bot side and he can safely push out. Look at how big the wave is though, and Cap's hovering for the dive. VK is here as well. I am not sure if it's worth it to sacrifice the Drake if they have... Oh no, oh poor Adam. He's not gonna die, he has flash.
Flashing here?
TP.
Wait, TP from Nuclear Int. I mean, definitely catching that wave may be worth it. There's like a huge wave of minions and the next one as well. So they get Drake for Sylas TP.
But can they dive bot now? Is that one of those things where you're like...
I mean, you should be, right? That's the trigger point. At least Hansama shouldn't be able to farm these minions.
Well, they're fighting it.
Okay. Mickey going in. Bubble does connect, but so far...
Okay, Shio is going in. Mickey has no flash. Mickey has no flash. Mickey's going to get stunned here. And Lucian dashing in. Lucian doing his combo. Lucian gets another kill. 3 kills for Lucian. You know what that means, right?
What does that mean?
I mean, that just means Lucian's going to be complete out of control in the mid game.
I think you've got a future in casting.
Yeah,
this is fantastic.
Honestly, I think both Mark and I could leave, and you could solo cast the rest of this game.
Basically like a co-stream at that point.
Too good.
I mean, I think... thank you, guys. So I know we are being nice.
No, we're not. No, that's great.
So an ult from... He could have ulted him
Yeah,
under the
into the tower, yeah. We then chain him afterwards, see if he can land the root.
Okay, BB used his TP, he has ult here.
What? What was that damage?
Sheen.
Okay,
Just Sheen things.
I mean, that... Okay, BB is like... Surprise Pikachu face, surely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was insane.
But we were talking before the camera came to us about Adam. He's having an amazing split.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I play him on Monday.
Are you worried?
No.
Okay, cool. Yike's looking up towards the top.
Okay,
Can
okay,
Maokai
there's
get
no
this kill?
TP.
He's close to level 6. Maybe
I
a smite
think
on a
he
minion.
definitely gets that kill, yeah.
Is it worth getting level 6 quickly?
Yeah, he's...
Smite the
Oh
minion.
no,
He tries to get it,
he
doesn't get it.
barely doesn't get it, yeah. But I think he still gets this... Okay, Adam has flash stun. Wait, Adam is trying to turn it around, but bro, he's level 6 now,
Oh,
he's gonna die.
level 6.
Okay, he's gonna flash to the side, flash to the side, flash to the side. Oh, Sejuani, come on.
Close.
I mean, that was well played. That was well played.
That was well played. Oh, BDS bot lane looking for hands.
Okay, Hansama still level 5. Kamini is level 6.
Flashes. Feathers.
Okay, Hansama is dead. That's 4 2v2 kills. And like full calling, Mickey forced to flash. I'm not sure if he needed...
3 2v2 kills bot.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this is the first time that G2 is getting punished for giving out Lucian Nami and drafting the Nautilus. Most of the teams always go 2v2 killed, but there's no Draven, there's no Kalista, so there's no AD carry that really threatens very, very hard at level 2, level 3, where Nautilus want to hook in. And this is the reason why, you know, G2 trying to play the same strat with AD carry that is supposed to scale more, and they are getting punished for it.
That's why I also really like the Samira ban, because Samira would have given you that little bit more threat in the 2v2, right? Whereas Xayah doesn't really give you that until she gets a couple of items.
Maybe G2 thought they would ban Kalista Varus and Samira would be their like third option.
Very
And
nice
they
Herald here.
didn't even opt for the Varus. They actually went for the Xayah instead. But yeah, nice Herald. Yike's gonna pick that up and base. If you were Yike right now coming out of base with Herald, what would your options be? Because playing around bot right now just seems impossible. Noon Quiver to Gale Force?
I mean, I don't want to be toxic, but I would probably say, hey, guys, bot lane is lost. I'm gonna farm to top side and use Herald top.
Would you say that I don't want to be toxic at the start as well?
Yeah.
In the
No.
comments?
Hey guys, you've really shit the bed this game.
I mean, what's really important to realize is that you can try to use the Herald to get some plays mid-top,
Sure.
but what you really want to do is actually want to stop this illusion from snowballing, so I think Ike being bot side is actually a correct choice.
Yep.
I feel like he wants to make sure his bot lane doesn't like completely go into like snowball oblivion, right? And I don't think Lucian can easily dash in against Marco. Very nice. Hansama still has flash.
This is deep.
Okay, this is very, very deep, very nice. So look at Caps flanking and one-shotting Lambrov. Nuclear int, ulting.
Triple
3
knockup.
people. Mickey again, and Shio is dead.
He's dead.
Mickey is dead as well. Okay, 5 kills for Lucian, not too bad.
Hans
But
is
if
not
Lucian
wrong.
dies here, Lucian dies. There's a huge shutdown. Who gets it? Who gets it?
It's getting
Oh,
killed
yeah.
700 gold.
That was really deep by BDS.
I mean, that's a huge mistake. Ulting the Zion when she has
forward as
ult.
well.
Okay, Nuclear in has flash, so I think he should be fine.
Yeah, he's okay. Had to
Well,
use
but
the
that was very good position from G2. They flank him from every side. Drives coming from the Raptors, and okay, Adam mid lane. Why is he looking for? Probably not very happy with his team making a mistake. I mean, Lucian still has insane gold lead, right? He's
Yep.
still very, very strong.
Yep.
But that was a perfect position from G2 Esports. I think that flanking from multiple sides, look at Rise, going from Raptors, Maokai, ulting from the red buff so that multiple people will get hit. Hansama ulting the Sejuani ult. What I don't understand here is why do you go on Xayah when she has flash and ult? You should be able to time that.
Look at
And
his
here,
feathers.
perfect path. Oh.
His pullback onto LeBron. So many feathers just get pulled into his face.
And
with
LeBron
Caps
just gets
first.
completely one-shot.
And then
There's no counterplay here. They should be running, but they still want to turn. They are not sure of their decision. Mickey does not.
so you would say that was very indecisive from BDS.
I mean, I think the decision as soon as Labrov dies should be, please run, no. don't give more kills.
Yeah.
Especially Crowny dying, 700 gold. That big shutdown to Caps. Imagine goes to Hansama. He's completely buying the game. Luckily, instead Rise is gonna snowball. But this game will be on Ike and will be on Caps to carry. And it's something interesting because I don't think Ike and Caps, or rather Caps, had like a super highlight game besides the Zac game where he was smurfing. This is the second game where he can really step up and carry the game.
Definitely.
It's 11 minutes though, guys. So
Yeah. Ooh, yike! Oh, flash towards the bottom side away from
okay, he's gonna land.
Crowny nowhere to go. Tries to trade back onto Hansama, but he just can't do it. Meanwhile, the chase onto Lebov underneath the tower. We will say goodbye to you, Jankos, as we say goodbye to Crowny.
The game is even, guys. The game is even. There's no snowball. Honestly, G2 will win this game. It's over.
Right.
He's lost. Okay,
Well,
guys.
The
Thank you for
10
having
minutes
me.
that was amazing.
We can
You're
say
gonna come
goodbye to
back one
everyone.
day. Say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day. Have a nice game. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
That was awesome. You can just pass it over to me. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you, man. You could have muted the mic as you know, put it down.
Yeah, I could have, but
Yeah.
I didn't know where the button was.
Right, so what we've had is a snowball in one direction into a counter snowball in the other direction. And now both the snowballs are kind of met in the middle in kind of a disappointing explosion.
Now it's a game of chicken of the snowballs. See
yeah,
which
snowball is going to be able to scale quicker.
Well, BDS are going to get the second dragon by the looks of it. Hansen Mickey quite far away, and as much as Yike might have vision, he doesn't have any way to get into that pit. So BDS, we'll see what soul it is.
Mountain
Soul.
Probably the best one right
pretty
now.
beneficial for sure. TP back from Adam to negate any top play. Caps was hovering up towards the top side, maybe looking for a dive, but Adam on the reset. Really good base timing to make sure they can't look for anything top side. But it's about stabilizing bot, I think, for G2. They've done a really good job of it so far, punishing the mistakes of BDS. And I think that once Hansama gets that mythic item, they'll start to be able to fight back more in a 3v3 way.
I think for BDS it's about trying to control Caps now, because that Realm Warp can get you all over the map. Jankos talked about it. Caps is very good at roaming and currently 1.4k ahead as well, with the Rod of Ages already complete. So game has kind of evened out here. 200 gold the difference between the two teams. As Mickey might be a little bit pushed up here. Does land the dredge line into the flash and manages to escape.
Nice flash indeed. Would have died there. So G2's bot lane pushed back a little bit. The vision is really good for BDS on the entrance. Caps has summoners. If Nuke lands this, he might get Caps' flash.
Yeah, but Yike's on his way as well. Nature's Grasp will stop them. The root coming out. Tanked by Sheo. Tidal Wave used as well. And Caps, in the end, will have to flash. Did burn the Ghost as well.
Just thinking about dragon fights right now, BDS have Sylas into Maokai and Gnar. Either of those ults are fantastic alongside a Nami ult to punish anyone who walks up. Nautilus ult's also really good for single target damage to follow up on the Sejuani, so the Sylas pick will have a lot of value in these dragon fights. It's on Caps right now to keep this mid push and keep Hansama alive. You can see bot waves will start to crash in, but Shio might be a bit caught here. Yike doesn't have the flash, bit too far away, no Mega Gnar. Adam's collapsing.
And Sheo constantly prodding and poking into Yike's jungle, into G2's jungle. It means that Adam is a little bit safer up towards the top side as he gets the Demolish Puck off and gets his third plate of the game.
And let's not forget, Adam solo killed Broken Blade, has a 20 CS lead, and has taken 3 plates, so he's 1.2k gold ahead. That Jax only gets stronger. So the side lane is going to be an absolute disaster for G2 to match. They're probably going to have to put Caps down there.
And Adam just consistently has been one of the key carries for BDS across the course of this split as well. His forward percent is absolutely up there, and obviously people look at his Darius and his Olaf, but he has also brought out the Aatrox now, his second game on Jax, and consistently has just shown that he is amongst the best top laners in Europe right now.
Yeah, and I think the only weakness you could have identified of Adam is his champion pool was the main one people would go for, but you've just highlighted it. 4 games already on 4 different champions. He's playing the Jax for a second time. We've seen the Olaf. He can play Set. We've seen Garen in Champions queue, so that's already 6 of these champions, which he looks incredibly comfortable on. And the meta is only going more in that direction with things like the Black Cleaver changes, perhaps. I don't know exactly what other changes are coming through for topside, but it looks like it's staying in this skirmish-heavy, bruisery top style, which I think Adam just loves.
It definitely does. G2 now trying to set up around this Rift Herald up towards the top side of the map. You can see BDS have pulled all 5 members towards mid lane, with only Adam standing up towards the top lane right now. Yike pulls out the Herald, puts down a couple of saplings, or I guess meeps. I don't know what we call those little astronauts.
Astro meeps.
Astro meeps?
Yeah. They're going to land onto BDS. They've started it. Broken Blade has TP, but he already has the Mega Gnar. Has the Unleash teleport if he wants to come into River, but
looks like it's just going to be given up.
Yeah. First break will go with Broken Blade, but that's the trade-off. Tower for Herald. We'll see what they can use it for. Get that top tower for Crowny by the looks of it.
And at this point, do you want to keep funneling more gold into Crowny? Like, accelerating him obviously does help you out a lot. Is there any argument to try and stabilize Nuke a little bit in the mid lane instead?
I think they should keep playing to Crowny.
Yeah.
I think the Lucian only gets stronger in the mid game, and making sure he can have that bridge to mid game is important. Adam will win in isolation.
Yeah, he's miles ahead.
And locking down Caps right now just feels really difficult. He has no sums, but This rise is really quick, and look at how Caps is playing. He's pushing in mid-waves, hovering in his own vision. He's going to rise ult to sides. He's not going to run to sides. We'll see a collapse here from G2. There's the rise ult coming in.
And Summer has to pop the Feather Storm. Cullen's going to hit him. Tidal Wave used as well. TP now invested. The Realm will put Caps to the fray. Sheo trying to escape already. The route onto Labrov, and he's going to fall. Knock up onto Crowny as well, and G2 collapse. Broken Blade flashing forward underneath the tower, trying to get them. Crowny loads, tanks up an Astro Meat, but it's 3 kills over 2 G2 in the top lane.
They can just collapse quicker. Caps is ready with the Realm Warp from mid. Broken Blade has TP advantage. So what can BDS get done in the solo lanes now to merit any kind of numbers disadvantage in his top side, or even trying to force something up there in the first place? Adam might be able to get a full bot tower. There's no plates left, so Nuke won't get anything in mid. Drake's up in 40 seconds though, so I think BDS is just going to say, let's reset. That was a bad fight. We lost summoners on Crowny, but now we need to run out bot side. Now we need to start contesting this dragon. We need Nuke and Adam in these fights to stop Caps from being able to run straight to our AD carry.
It's so difficult to try and get away from this as well, because Sheo is spotted, and he goes on to Mickey. It's BDS who call for the fight. They get the Feather Storm out of Hansama, but the Realm Warp, the TP, is just instantaneous from G2.
That's just miscommunication from BDS. Sheo should not walk into that river with TP disadvantage.
Yeah.
The best play you can go for as a jungler there is through lane and just hide on bush, and just, if they collapse, you disengage, and if they show on lanes on the next wave, then you look for a play of your own because they have no cleanse, right? He shouldn't go into river. He was looking for Caps perhaps, but now 5 seconds on the dragon, soul points. BDS going to use the Herald mid to try to crack open that tower, get a little bit of prio. Caps is going to go through bot. Yikes ultimate's coming up now. BDS first to the river.
Caps at 2 items. Labrov has been hooked once again, and Labrov just doesn't get a chance to move. Tries to flash away, but he's not into the wall. Sheo now going into Broken Blade. Adam coming in with a counter strike as well with the Nature's Grasp. What locks them in place. G2 continue to rip through BDS 1-for-1 so far. Adam flashes the wall, but they lose prio in the river. Mid lane does go down to that Rifto. BDS actually trying to just barrel down mid here, get a tier 2 if they can.
This is great from BDS. It's a 1-for-1. It took so long to kill Broken Blade that they couldn't turn the fight. They had to escape. They lost to Drake, yes, but they got 2 towers for it. This Herald might even crash onto the Inhib tower. They won't be able to pick that up. It should regen slowly. Mickey trying to pull it away to let Caps take it down, and he will. But you can see the amount of damage BDS has when they can connect to their target. They don't want to make sure they can stick on them. If Gnar had ultimate there, of course, it would have been an absolute disaster committing that deep onto a Mega Gnar. But yeah, Labrov needs to be really careful. Looks for vision alone, gets hooked, has to flash away, still dies. BDS tiny bit split, but I think their communication after the mistake was good.
This is one of those games as a support Nami where you're like, okay, my Lucian's really strong, but every time I try and get any vision, Mickey is just waiting with a hook for me. Adam's chased away by the Meep here. Labrov tries to step forward, probably a little greedily there to get the Aquaprism down.
Yeah, I think Labrov should be on mid-wave with Crowny, just helping you get that wave in. Stay on your own vision, push in. They've already got the pings down. Caps would destroy Adam and Nuke here if he had a little bit more uptime with just EQ spamming, but of course the stopwatch stopped the bounce, and then the flash away stopped the rest of the damage. So G2 have stopped the soul point. The Xayah will scale really well, going towards that Phantom Dancer. Still ahead though is Crowny, and their mid game is really powerful with Sejuani, Sylas, Lucian. We'll see if they can keep forcing these fights.
They don't have to, well, they don't have as many options to force around as we get towards, the later portions of the game. Baron obviously an option in about a minute's time, but now they're no longer on soul point. It means that G2 can leave the next dragon if they don't want to fight it, if they want to keep scaling. Caps, 7 stacks on his Rod of Ages. Seraph's Embrace complete as well. Nuke still on his way towards his Zhonya's Hourglass, but a little bit away. Caps really the true carry at the moment for G2. Watch him in the team fights. Keep your eyes peeled for the rise and see what he can do.
G2 trying to hit this mid tower here. Crowny's doing red buff, so losing a mid tower here for the red, I mean, they probably would have lost it anyway with the investment of the Maokai ult. Has cleanse, he could try to walk up and stop it, but that tower's gone down now. Yeah, the saplings are going to be doing more and more damage, but as Jankos talked about, no first strike on the Maokai. Probably going to be a Radiant Virtue tankish Maokai here. G2 have plenty of damage, I think, in the Rise and Xayah, and they only scale better. Zhonya's coming in for Adam. Ever since the Jax changes, just looks like a great item, and on top of the fact that the stats are good, it's also one of those things where you can jump in with your E, get a combo off, stopwatch, and then you have enough time to get maybe another combo off before you have to start running away. So now BDS going to play for this top tier one, and that should fall.
Yeah, not really much G2 can do. Man disadvantage right now as Hansama was catching mid-wave. Adam should be able to take this by himself, and there comes a point in these games where you start to look at how the lane assignments are going to go, Cajal. After 20 minutes tends to be that point as Sheo does face check into Mickey here, pulled back. with the dredge line. Sheo tries to get away, but look at the damage down onto him. Death charge being used as well. The tidal wave to try and counter it. Hansama with the feather storm. Sheo able to escape without using the flash. Stolen Nature's Grasp. TP coming in, and Adam will be able to jump in, but the feathers pull them back. Adam down to half HP, and Caps is really going to start opening up now. He's sprinting towards him with the phase rush. The bubble connects, but the damage from the rise is absurd. Realm Warp forward. Where are you going to go, BDS? Because G2 are on the hunt. Caps still chasing forward. Sheo falls to an overload, and BDS have met their match. G2 will wipe them off the face of the rip.
And they're going to go straight towards the Baron as well. 5-4-1. The game is absolutely blown wide open. And as much as they struggled in bot side through this game, it's Caps now who just dishes out so much damage. Hans just had to have one big pullback, and that allows Caps to buy him out so much space to be able to just chase him down with the Ghost, with the phase rush. There was no real way BDS were getting out of there.
And G2 have shown us, at least in this game, that they can come back from a deficit. Every time they've fallen behind so far in the LEC, they have ended up losing that game this winter split. Here, after falling quite far behind in the bottom side of the map, they have snowballed this away from BDS, and that snowball turning much more into an avalanche.
Yeah, looking at it more, how both these comps function. As BDS commits into G2, not only is the Sire Feathers a problem, but the Rise EQ just bouncers are a big problem. And you'll see that here. Sheo's flash just about to come up, doesn't use it, runs away, and then they think they can commit here with the stolen Maokai ultimate. And as much as it looks great that all these 3 skirmish champions are on top of the Nautilus and he's gonna die, the pullback, and then the Ghost is popped here from Caps, and then the EQ bounces just start coming in. Just literally run past Adam, knowing that he's gonna die. Labrov and Crowny can never really turn on him because of the Rod of Ages. He's actually quite strong, quite tanky. Ghost, Maokai ult, Rise ult, they're just gonna get run down. There's nowhere for BDS to go.
Yeah, 500 damage or thereabouts every time that EQ comes through. Even Sheo unable to survive it. And it's difficult for BDS because they were looking at a possible spot at the top of the table. After going 3-0 last week, we wondered if they could keep up that form. Obviously, G2 a very tough opponent to try and do that against, but here, G2 showing just that they are a little bit stronger on the day, or quite a lot stronger on the day after the early game.
Definitely, 1-4 coming in here. G2 gonna crack open bot tier 2. Broken Blade will just keep the mid waves in and is ready to collapse bot in case BDS look for an engage. Adam's trying to trade a top tier 2 of his own, so that means G2 need to push really hard here and try to get this inhibitor as quick as possible. As the Jax continues to push, Broken Blade doesn't have TP and neither does Caps. You don't want to split up with Baron. So I think eventually Broken Blade could just take this mid tower and base himself, or G2 can move mid and Broken Blade can base Adam. If he recalls here, he can TP behind G2, right? You've got this weird scenario where Broken Blade is just completely split off from his team, so smart base there by Adam actually stops G2's push.
One too many ward opportunities for him to TP to, and G2 will clear out vision as they retreat back through the BDS blue side jungle. Dragon now a possibility for G2. Would have only be their second of the game, but it's more about denying BDS any options, denying BDS any chance to find a fight on even footing, and by securing it, should be an easy enough close here for G2.
The problem is I ask myself in this situation with BDS, what's their next item breakpoint that will leverage? Hang on a second, Adam has Lucidity Boots, doesn't have that much tenacity, I think.
He's got Flash, will use it, then jumps.
Yeah, doesn't have that much tenacity, I think. Not sure what his secondary is, but he's using Grasp. Anyway, what is BDS's next power spike? What's their next go button, their next phase of just engaging? I think it's just Navori on Lucian and hope they can get a fight, but I think even then, armor's being built up. You know, Warden's Mail already picked up now for Yike. The Deadman's played on Broken Blade. He has no armor penetration. I don't think this Lucian's getting through the front line, let alone helping the divers on the backside. Jax hasn't really gotten himself that much damage yet, building towards the Force of Nature now, so BDS need to find really good targets and clutch it out in the fight. Just outplay G2. Some kind of Sejuani flank, I think, would look good.
It feels like you also, if you can catch G2 where it's not a full 5v5 front to back, then you can win. But if it's ever that full 5v5 front to back, if Mickey's ever the one stepping forward into you, it's just so difficult. There's so much zone control from G2. There's so much power. 3 items on Caps, 2.5 on Hansama. He's almost got his IE, and he's actually caught up with Powney in terms of gold as well. So any of the lead the BDS had has fallen out of the window. Only Adam ahead of his lane opponent right now, but Broken Blade much more playing around his team now, going to catch that bottom wave, but with Super Minions pushing in, it won't take too much help to shove that one forward. BDS trying to defend. Adam joins up. You have a small window here before Broken Blade can join his team. That TP channel, a possibility to find a 5v4, but G2 won't let you have it. They just go back, they retreat through the jungle, they make sure they have the vision control, and they set up in the mid lane.
And that's a low risk macro G2 are opting into, you know, when they don't have those TP even situations. They won't over-push themselves. You know, they could have had a mid-wave pushed in there and then rotated into it, but they don't want to risk splitting up. Caps doesn't have his realm warp yet, so if he was the one going for like a 3-1-1, then they could get collapsed on. Maybe they would lose a few summoners. Not optimal. Don't really need to do that. You can get that mid-tier 2 a little bit later on when you have better lane assignments, a little bit of a more established map where people can collapse easier on G2's side. But I think what they're waiting for now is the next Baron. There's nothing really to overforce. Wait for Nash to spawn, get vision towards the top side, everyone reset, get your spike, get some control wards, and then just control that top side. And we'll see how BDS deal with it. There's only one blue orb. They have no real other spells to check, and they're quite short range. So when it comes to walking up, Mickey will be lying in wait with a hook, I have to imagine.
You can see BDS's vision line basically at the entrances of their own jungle, nowhere near the Baron. Mickey will step forward with the sweeper, make sure that there aren't any elusive wards set up around here, and now he can just back away and join with his team. Backs, resets, gets his wards back stocked up by a couple of control wards here. I know Ellis probably would be a little bit angry at that, you know?
No, it's only when it comes to item spikes that you get to know a bit upset, you know, when carry sports like
we
the
only
Twitch.
bought one though, so
Giga Chad Mickey.
Saving that 75 gold for next game.
He's going to put it in a stock, invest it, double his money. Caps needs to be careful here. Has a ward on Krug, so I think he just saw Shio move into that bush. LeBron won't spot it, will he? With that sweeper, so BDS a little bit unaware that they're on vision. Yike's going to push his way in. And I think Mickey's now returned with those wards in pink. Nash spawning in 40, place those all down, push into mid-wave, look for a tier 2 after Caps is pushed out top. And I think G2 can turn towards this Baron. And the beauty of Rise is you can just realm warp the team. You know, you can push all the way to the inhibitor tower, pushing the wave, turn around, Rise ult to Nash, and by the time you finish it, BDS are nowhere near.
That's why BDS have to find a way to pull the trigger. G2, it's patient play. You take a couple of minutes, you make sure there's no vision anywhere near the Baron, no TP wards, no possibility of BDS finding a flank, and they've done exactly that. Caps has now come back out onto the rift. 10 stacks on his Dark Seal. Would love to see a Medjai's, but I doubt the game will last long
Old
enough.
Caps would.
Yeah, old Caps would have got Medjai's second.
Caps and MSI would. Always went for that Medjai's. So BDS trying to get some vision. Lebrov has 3 wards left.
But how do you do it, man? Like, Lebrov has 3 wards. You're also face-checking into a sapling every single time. And as much as it's tank Maokai, it's still demonic embrace tank Maokai. Like, it's so difficult to do. Now, Sheo is going to face-check. Lebrov, once again, the one who took the color coming out as well. As BDS try and make their final stand. Blast cone out. Double root from Nuke. Hansama now stepping forward. The hook once again lands onto Nuke. Adam trying to get away from Broken Blade and Caps, but he just can't escape. Stops time for a second, but all that will give him is a perfect view of his death as he falls to Caps. Crowny now trying to escape the Aqua Prison just short. Yike on the flank, twist in advance into the knockback. Caps gets a double, the knob into the wall, a triple for Caps. And G2 once again just clean up in the top lane.
And that's the inevitability of setup versus short range. Mickey just has to wait for one person to walk up. Eventually BDS have to check. Hook lands, the fight kicks off, and I think BDS kind of got a little bit lucky there. Adam's stun stopped Caps' ult where he would have chased them even further and got a couple more kills. So G2 take the triple onto Caps, will take the Baron. Then they'll base and start setting up to look for the end. But it's just so hard for BDS playing a comp, as Yankos said in draft, that wants to go forwards, is having to run backwards. There's no real way for them to find any direction in these fights.
Pretty much impossible for them with G2 playing as well as they are, and Caps as well. Has had a quiet split so far. Has had a couple of games where he's looked good, but I don't think Claps has really been on the menu. This game, it's a return to form for Caps. Obviously, getting kills in the early game helps you get towards that position. Just as an important note, once again, both these teams are already locked into playoffs. G2, though, could tie Team Vitality at the top of the standings. Vitality play later on today, and getting that 1-2 seed makes it a lot easier for you as you go through our group stage.
It does indeed, but here we are. G2 are at and BDS tied there. Of course, one of these teams, likely G2 will push themselves up, like you said, and if Vitality lose today, then there is a tie for first, but they have to see how Vitality do. So here's the hook onto Lebrov. He actually lives by flashing out to the side here, but the fight's already started. Adam's TP'd in, the rest of G2 around, hook hits Nuke, and then here Adam will jump over the wall. It could have got even worse here for BDS. After the stopwatch, you can see Cap trying to preemptively ult, thinking that he's already dead, but it gets stopped, so he can't actually get onto the Sylas, and Lebrov trying to help Crowny here. Ends up falling to Caps. One spell, he's just so far ahead. Just the W coming out. And now the siege will begin. BDS not really finding any way to start running at G2. They can't get past the front line in the first place. They haven't found any flanks. They haven't really found any TP wards either. Haven't used those globals in a long time, but you can see BDS are going all in now. Elixir of Wrath picked up for Crowny, Baby Last Whisper, give him red buff, and I think the call is justified, but that's a level 18 rise. Gonna be a bit scary. With a Medjai's, he actually has gone for it. It's gonna be a bit scary to dash in.
it's going to be pretty impossible. You have to feel for BDS. Now, 2 lanes of pressure. Once again, the 1-4 Broken Blade off towards the side lane. Trying to deal with Nuke right now. Crownie pops the culling down, but you can see it only tickles Mickey now. More like feathers on his back than any sort of lethal shot. And as much as BDS can try and hold on to this one, you have to feel it's all done, but the Nexus is falling. Broken Blade and Caps down towards this bottom side. Realm Warp a possibility for them if they want to join up with their team very quickly. Of course, they can just run across 2 inhibitors now open.
Yep.
And that's the push, you know? That's all you need to do is G2.
They're
not explosive, but all you have to do is slowly chip away at them, as you say.
4 cannons buffed up are just going to sit there, so I think G2 are just going to keep them buffed up and let them do the, look at the damage it's doing. Here comes a 5th cannon as well, just blowing through this tower. G2 don't even need to hit it.
Yeah, Rufus and hits onto Nuke there. The stopwatch going to try and delay the inevitable. Nature's Grass coming out as well, and Nuke has already fallen. G2 let the cannons do the work and chase onto the fountain. Yike will take the second Nexus tower. G2 toying with BDS a little bit here as they close this one out. Another hook from Mickey, tanks the fountain for a second. Adam going in, but the flash away from Hans Summer will keep him alive. Caps in for the dive, but the Nexus falls.
Who hit the Nexus? Who was it that ended? Caps was calling for the fountain dive there. Must have been either Hans or Broken Blade that went for the end. Caps can't pad the stats, but yeah. BDS looked good for the first 5 to 10 minutes. A lot of action around the bot side. Crownie was 4-0 at one point. Really big lead on that bot side, but they threw it all away towards that invade towards the red buff. It gave kills over to Caps, gave him a big shutdown. Nuke lost mid push, and without mid push, they couldn't really contest bot side anymore. And then, you know, Yike just kept revisiting and revisiting, trying to force plays, catch them off guard, bring Caps to make sure he's hovering in case Shio is around. But good early game from BDS.
Yeah, solid. Just need to be able to translate that into the mid-game. Obviously, a difficult team to do it against. BDS still have Vitality and Heretics on the menu for this week, and it's not going to be an easy closeout for them. I'm sure they're pretty glad that they're already locked into our top 8. G2 still toying with the possibility of taking first. You can vote for one of them in your player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Yike, Caps, and Hans Summer are your options.
Yeah,
I mean,
Caps had a
the
great
guy in the middle was good, right? Like Caps was, it was pretty solid this game.
And Jankos talks about it in draft how BDS, as much as they might get leads through bots, they really want to play through mid to help the the Sylas Sejuani. He set up onto Caps, no cleanse, look for something. He never fell short of a gank. He never died to anything. He was always ready on the moves first with the Realm Mob, and after he got that shutdown, he ran away with the mid lane. So yeah, great game from him.
Always good to see Caps in form. It's one of those players that for so long was the pinnacle of mid lane in Europe, has been challenged over the last couple of years. I think Larson definitely put a good name for himself last year. Caps once again returning to his former self.
Definitely has. Caps and claps and craps, 3 versions of himself. Depends on the day,
Are we Caps with a capital P still, or is that one gone away as well? Because it was Caps with a capital P. It was capital P for a while last year. Did he change it back?
Yeah, I can't remember the reason. It was something to do with performance.
He had to earn the capital C, didn't he? So he had the capital P, and he said, "I have to earn the capital C."
Oh, so he thinks he's earned it, does he?
Yeah, I think it seems like it. Seems like it. I do see Trouble standing by with Broken Blade, just getting ready for an interview. So we'll go over to him in a moment. We can learn about the joys that is Gnar into Jax in the top lane. Truly a matchup for the ages, and he is ready for us. So over to you, Trouble, with Broken Blade.
Trouble.
You know what? I literally just asked him, is it fun playing Gnar into Jax? And he says, I literally just first time did. So yeah, that was your first question from the desk. Thank you so much for joining me, BB, after your victory. The first thing I want to bring up, because everybody tells the top laner what to play, but they never ask how the top laner is the draft. That was not a fun draft, Broken Blade. What happened there? That was a very normal draft for G2.
Yeah, I mean, we're right now in the lab cooking up stuff, right? We're always looking to play fun stuff and also, good stuff, but sometimes it has to be boring, and in this draft was some boring picks, but they're just too OP, so if Riot maybe nerfs them, we can play some more interesting champs.
Okay, if you could nerf one of the 5 that you picked, which one would it be?
Maokai.
Okay,
if I could.
Agreed with that one. All right, jumping into G2 as a whole, right? You've been with the team last year, you're with the team this year. There's been a little bit of a rebuild. How do you see the situation right now? Because it's been a little bit of a roller coaster for the past 2 weeks.
Well, I think with this iteration of G2, we have like a way different dynamic than we had last year. I think this year we are really, really strong when it comes to like snowballing in the early game. Last year we were actually really, really weak in the early game. We were really good in mid and late. You could even look up the stats. I think we're like the worst team in the early game in summer. but we're still like first place or something. But this year we're actually really, really good in early game. And that's because we have our new bot lane. They're really, really talkative. They really communicate a lot. They really say what they want. They're really demanding. And Yike is also putting his ideas on the table, right? And it's like a refreshing way of playing the game, because usually I had a lot of attention always. And this year it's like more, the attention goes more towards bot side, which is like different for me as well, right? It's like a new kind of project for me. So I'm growing from that as well. So I'm definitely excited to see how that goes, yeah.
I'm very happy that you also mentioned Yike, because one of the things that we always chat about is how do the veterans mesh up with the rookies in a brand new team, especially when you're playing for an org like G2. And if there's one positive attribute that you could take away from Yike, what would that one be?
I mean, I think there's a lot, actually. I think Yike has been very, very, like mechanically he's very good. He can play a lot of champs. He's very easygoing. Doesn't actually feel like he's a rookie, if I'm very honest. And it's like, it's nice to spend time with him. It's been a lot of good attributes, actually. I could keep on going. I think his best attribute is probably his skill. I mean, he's just very good, right? That's why he's on G2 as well. So, yeah.
Only the best junglers and top laners on G2?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. If there's one thing you want to tell to Caps, because he's waiting on the desk with Lauren Gulbo, what would that be?
Well, I think Caps played really good. So well played, Caps. But also well played to the rest of the team. Can't let them down as well, right? Yeah, I mean, good luck for Analyst Desk.
Yes, there he is.
Okay, good luck, Caps. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be waiting for you backstage.
You know what? You did a better job than me. Thank you so much, Broken Blade. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Bibi. Thank you, Trouble, as well. And thank you, Caps, for joining us. So Bibi was just wishing you good luck on the analyst desk. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bibi.
We were they were just discussing about the draft and how standard it was compared to what we've seen from you guys lately. Maybe the 2 losses from last week, you needed to have some confidence and more standard picks here?
I mean, for sure. I mean, I think like Ryze and Maokai are like really high prio picks, and usually they're like banned out. I mean, I also played it last week, right, the Ryze, and the Maokai was banned out all the other games, so we didn't really get to show it. But luckily this time it was left open. We get to show that we're capable of not just like winning in 3 minutes, but also playing a bit slower game.
Yeah, because I was actually going to say, I think this is the first game where you guys actually come back after laning phases and just completely stomped as well. And this time around, you left the Lucian Nami open, but Draven was banned this time around, so you couldn't just one-shot it immediately. How was the communications like when the bot lane was kind of falling apart in the early game? Because it looked like they were going to win until they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it was for sure a bit of a disaster early game. And usually we always like win the early bot lane situations, at least on stage, right? But again, we've played so many scrim games, and we are still confident even if we fall behind. We can come back. Our champions allow us to to always find good fights, and that's what we saw later on in the game. Sometimes we get the Draven and Hans just carries in 3 minutes, and other times we get like prior picks like Ryze and Maokai, and then hopefully me and Yike can do some work as well, right?
You have the map awareness to see this live as well.
I was not. I mean, I was looking at it. But I think as soon as right now I started looking away because I was not liking what I was seeing.
Back to my lane, it's not going so well. But GB, I think it echoes to what we were saying in Reddit check today, the ability from BDS's bot lane to make the best out of tricky situations sometimes. And I'm thanking the pressure plays.
So I know we have you here, Caps, but I really want to praise the BDS bot lane. I think they've really been showing off lately as well. And it seems like they've actually found their group, both Crowny and Laproth. I think really a redemption one with obviously Crowny coming back to the LEC, but also Laproth as well after his performance he had later. How's it been playing against BDS for you guys as well? Because obviously this is a resurgence of the BDS team. Was this just another matchup for the G2, or was there higher preparation for this kind of team now?
I mean, for sure, they've shown up really strong early on, and with our week, the last weekend was kind of rough for us, so we want to make sure that we came in strong against everyone. I think that BDS is also one of the stronger teams we played against in scrims. One of the teams that actually takes games of us. So it's we definitely wanted to beat them, and I'm happy we ended up with it as well.
I want to know a bit more though. What is your take on what makes BDS such a solid team and one of the best team we have right now in the LEC?
I mean, it's a good question. I think they are like a quite meta-heavy dependent team. Like I think especially Adam is like the biggest one, right? I think he has carried them a lot on stage. Like he has had a lot of like really solid performances, but his champion pool is very limited and it's very strong right now. But maybe in next split, maybe next patch even, we will not see the same performance from him.
Right.
And I think that will already like make them quite a bit worse.
It makes sense. Like we talked about it,
We'll
it is
see,
a good
yeah.
meta right now. I don't think the patch is going to shape up too much
Probably not.
differently from the top lane going into group stage. But I also do want to talk about the comeback that finally comes through because you guys start fighting some really nice skirmishes. And I think we actually have a point of view fight from Hans as well, just to give him some redemption as well going into this. So yeah, Cavs, I don't know. Can you talk us through this fight as well? Because they just heavy engage in your Sire.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty obvious in this game that they really don't like Hans. Like they really just wanted to just kill Hans. And luckily he was playing Sire actually, so he had like the ult to kind of just waste Sigil, right? And I think she committed both the Q and the ult in the beginning of the fight.
Right.
And while Sire can just like very casually put her ult down, and sure it's like a 1-for-1 trade ult, but she also gets the feathers on the ground after, and she can pull them back, right? And I mean, then Mickey comes in with a big hook.
Yeah, and it's just strategical. They fed the crown shot or crownie so you can get the shutdown afterwards and then you start taking over the game. It's absolutely amazing. How do you feel about your performance in this game as well? Because I feel like you had a really, a lot of key roam timings as well, especially up towards that top side in the beginning as well. What was your kind of mentality and your job to do in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely happy with like the matchup I had. I think my matchup is quite good, and I think Ryze is very strong in this patch. I was like a little bit worried because obviously Sejuani level 3 pretty strong, and I think she even jumped the wall to gank me level 3. So it was not the best early start for me, but I survived the gank, and I think that's all I can kind of hope for.
And what I really loved about this roam here is the fact that Nuke sees you get into the Realm Warp, and as soon as he sees you up there, he immediately dips back to mid to farm, and it's just like, yeah, okay, I guess it's over because the fights just get taking over. And I feel like after you pick up these, I think it's 2 kills in this instance, and you're going to get a triple kill later. It's just the Cavs show. Is this champion just yours right now? And we've seen you lose on it already once, unfortunately, but this has really been your redemption game.
For sure, yeah. I think this game was a much better showing for the pick. I think last week when we played it, we were getting kind of hard outranged and we couldn't really reach them. This time around, we have like so much more engaged for it. We have, and they also decided to pick like more of a low range comp, so they kind of have to run into me, right? And as a Ryze, you love seeing that because you're just so tanky on this current patch.
A couple of words about Ryze though, because as you said, it's a champion we don't see often. It's actually the most banned champion in the LEC right now. But how much do you want to get your hands on this champion when you think of the fact that he's been banned so much that maybe it doesn't fit quite well in most of the draft structures you build right now in the LEC?
I mean, for sure, we were caught off guard. I mean, both today and last week when they left it open. I guess they saw us lose last week and they hoped that we would do it again. But yeah, I was happy when I saw it open. Even more happy when they didn't pick it as well. So we both got like Maoka and Ryze, and hopefully we can keep getting it this week.
Well, we'll see if the weekend keeps on being bright for you, Cavs, in this last week of the regular season. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Again on Taking Down BDS. And we're going to take a small break now, and we will come back in just a few minutes with Fnatic versus Mad Lions. But first, let's listen to the Warner song of the week, Oh My. We will be back right after this.